The date of this publishing is August 18th. It is, there's currently a heat wave going on in San Diego, and I currently have sweat on my upper lip. It is disgusting, to say the least. I do not like the heat. I have a fantasy of living in the Pacific Northwest, but I don't know if that would be an actual obtainable goal. I think I'd complain there too. Welcome back. This is episode 13. You're probably wondering, hey, Terrance, little old guy over there, why are you posting a podcast 20 days later than the last one? And, there's no logical reason besides me being myself, and I have no discipline. At least with this podcast. It's slowly but surely I'm developing a discipline. I'll get more into that later, but I tried to make another, this whole episode 13, I'd say maybe 2 weeks back, or whenever a week after the last episode was. I don't know what day that was. Maybe what's the day today? August, or I was going to say the month. What's the month? It is August. So around August 1st, August 2nd, I tried to make another episode, and now that I'm talking about it in hindsight, I think because I had no proper planning, I still haven't learned how to properly plan the podcast. So it started with bullet points, but now it's kind of almost turning into a skeleton script, with a little bit to play with, a little room for play, but I couldn't even say it generally. There's generally a guideline for it, but I'm going to be honest, I lost all of my motivation to do this in the sense of that major, what was it, that whole mess up, that whole kerfuffle I had last month. And at the time I didn't want to admit it, but it just made me lose so much motivation. I was like, I don't even want to do this anymore. And then I learned, this is unrelated, but also kind of correlates to everything, because you're probably wondering, hey, why is the name different and there's a different picture? Well, that happened because Ron Funches also has a podcast, and it's called Getting Better, and it also had the same kind of color scheme, and I was like, okay, let's try to drift apart from that as quickly as possible, so it's not the same kind of thing. I know we probably don't. I'm not a professional comedian, but I don't want to run in his way, even though I'm very small and very local. But just in case I've been better. I will say that for this show, I've been good. Feels good to talk on a mic again. It's kind of unorganized at the moment, even with these bullet points that I made, so I specifically wouldn't be in disarray, but it feels they're like, don't eat bad stuff right now, Terrance. They're talking to me on the TV. I swear to God. But no, I've just been eating just a bunch of junk. So I'm not going to make it a thing on this on this podcast. I don't want to cook. I don't want to make it a cooking show. I did at the moment, but I've changed that. This thing has constantly changed at this point. I think the only consistency will occur maybe like episode 100 and episode 100. We'll just say that. I assume at that point I'll probably have some kind of recognizable structure for this. But I'm not. You know what? And I'm not gonna no longer like, or I'm no longer gonna apologize for like all the mess ups and everything. It's a learning process, and I don't know why I said that so weird. I think it's just the stream of consciousness talking about it. But it is taking a moment to kind of figure out what I'm doing on here, and I'm just trying to be honest about it. I mean, the show is called "I Want to Feel Better." And I haven't been talking about, or at least I haven't been honest with how I'm feeling about it. And before, I'd say a month ago, I just needed to, or I just did. I didn't think I needed to, but I stepped back and I was like, okay, we'll just get rid of this whole podcast thing and pretend it didn't happen. But you know what? Then I thought about it. I was like, okay, dude, that's what everybody does. You got to get past that point. I feel like with any creative thing, you have to get past the point of, or I mean, just the challenge of it. I mean, there's a certain point where everything plateaus, nothing goes the way you want it to, and then you lose drive. But that's the part that makes you better, right? Is going through that whole thing. And I think this made me realize that I still do want to do it. I just needed to. Not to take a break. I wouldn't even say that. I would say I needed to get my shit together. I think externally, I needed to bring a routine into play. I don't know if I talked about that before in the other podcast. I feel like it was the semblance of a routine. I feel like it's cool listening to the first podcast because that was like when I acknowledged I wanted to get better. And then now it's just like you're learning the rough, or me personally, I'm learning the rough and tumbles of like actually trying to live a better life. And it means I can't eat a honey bun past 8 p.m. I don't know what sick world wouldn't let a young man, a young, barely graduating from high school, 25-year-old man, not eat a honey bun after 8 p.m. Actually, it's probably good I don't eat a honey bun after 8 p.m. because recently I've noticed my metabolism has come to a near halt. I cannot eat anything bad anymore, and it just goes straight to my stomach almost immediately. And I was like, oh, okay, this is the time you got to stop, I always wondered before, like when I was like 17, and I was eating chicken nuggets every day. I was like, when will this end? Will there be like a certain point you feel it? And let me tell you, there's definitely a certain point you fucking, I don't want to cuss, when you flippin', try not to cuss on here. I cussed for a little bit, but I don't want to do that, it's a clean episode. Let's let the people listen. But yeah, I don't even know what I was saying before. Oh yeah, I can just feel the food now. And I understand what people mean when at least now, when you eat healthy, you feel better. Simple concept, but it's not simple for me, at least for 25 years of my life. No, but it's, what else? I don't think I have anything else to say on that. Welcome back, I should say that. In this podcast, I will say I am changing my mindset. And you're probably like, Terrance,
We are 5 months into this pandemic.
We were moving back into a modification mode of our original stay-at-home order.
We want to go back to work.
Time for our state to be opened up. We're tired of not being able to buy the things that we need.
We all have to get this virus in one way or another. I shouldn't have to keep walking. I should be able to lay on my towel.
In times of a pandemic, coronavirus seems to have created a frenzy of psychosis in the American culture.
This is a time where a lot of people are feeling anxiety. Quite frankly, I imagine most people are.
Experts are warning about a looming mental health crisis in the United States, resulting from the national lockdown and fears pertaining to the pandemic.
It is estimated that 8% of the world is vegetarian. What does that have to do with coronavirus? We'll find out today. I'm Terrance Greer, and this is Vegan Pad Thai. My journey with vegan pad thai begins 2 months ago when I converted to being a vegetarian. I was unaware of its origins, where it came from, and its connection to coronavirus. I decided to ask the expert Dr. Galvez. He has a PhD in vegan food from Harvard University and knows everything about it. This is our call.
I think you'll find nothing more interesting than the origins of vegan pad thai. It comes like everything else with histories of corruption, histories of nepotism, and histories of just all-out war creating this meal that is universally available, and many are unaware of its hidden past.
Is there like a direct, when you mean hidden past, do you mean like a direct connection to somebody who created it?
Without a doubt, this always goes back to Charles Vegan.
Now the question lingers, who is Charles Vegan? What was his corrupt past? And how do you make vegan pad thai? Yeah, that whole thing was straight off the dome. Straight off the top of the cabeza. There was nothing written down. That was the worst bit I've ever made. Oh, God. It was direct inspiration from the Vice Opioid Crisis podcast I just listened to. Like, I just had a hard time listening to it because, like, I had a hard time visualizing just, like, hanging out with the cartel for the sake of a podcast. Like, what are we doing here? Should be figuring out the problem. Not even the cartel. Why are they making drugs? You know? But, yeah, so I made that and then just had no motivation. Didn't even make this podcast. But I will say a major breakthrough occurred. Let me play a sound effect for the major breakthrough, which is I discovered 20 years from its origin, Audible. I downloaded Audible because I feel like I've blown through every single podcast. At least the ones I like. I feel like I've listened, not that I've blown through them, but during this quarantine, I have listened to way too many podcasts. And then after a while, once you listen to a podcast, you'll kind of just get the gist of it, and then you'll start checking in and out of it. And I was like, okay, let's do something a little bit more productive, you know? So I downloaded Audible. I got my first book, which was, what was the book I got? They give you a free download. So I downloaded, Memoirs and Misinformations by Jim Carrey. So I listened to his Mark Maron appearance, and I was curious about what his book would be about. It's his brand new book, and I ended up listening to it, and it was narrated by Jeff Daniels, which I thought was weird. I don't know why, but it was okay. That book was all right. I feel like I'm over celebrity culture. I feel like quarantine has killed that whole presence. I feel like I shouldn't have liked it from the beginning. but it's like one of those things you still check in on for no apparent reason. I feel like it was just another story of Hollywood, like I kind of, and I'm not even shitting on Jim Carrey because it's his own perspective, but me personally, I am so sick of hearing about celebrity culture. I deleted my social media, probably not for that reason, but the fact that I don't have it anymore has changed my whole perspective on that. I feel like you just don't really need to check in on that. I feel like it's like TikTok. TikTok, I downloaded it for maybe a month. Not even. I would even go 2 weeks. If that, like a week and a half. I downloaded a week and a half. I feel like I saw all the videos I needed to see. And then there's just too many young people on there. I'm way too old. I'm not super old, but to them, I'm probably a dinosaur. I shouldn't have that on there. I have a 14-year-old brother. What does he think about it? His opinion's what matters right now. He's cool. Just in general. When you're 14, you're cool. You know what's up. He told me yellow highlighter clothing with Under Armour logos is not in. So I didn't buy it. He's just he's a good indicator of what's hot and what's not. I'm just kidding. I literally don't even buy clothes anymore. I just get them from unidentified clothing, and I wear whatever that is, whatever the new drop is. I'm not even kidding. Friend Liam started that company, and I've supported it since the first t-shirt, which is awesome because it's been like 5 years now since he started that company. But it's gotten to the point where like literally everything in my closet, as I look at it right now, is unidentified clothing. I look like a hype beast. When I took classes at community college, I just looked ridiculous some days because I was like, this is like way above my pay grade, if you know what I mean. This is like, I usually don't wear stuff like that, but it's cool. I love it. I don't even know what I was talking about. Oh, TikTok. I don't even know. There was something before that. Oh, I'm over celebrity culture. That's what I meant. Yeah, so Memoirs and Misinformations. If I had to rank that book, specifically the audio book, I give it like an 8 out of 10. It's an enjoyable read. It's like 7 hours. So it took me about a week to finish. Just because I use like podcast and audio stuff when I'm working. That's just so I can get through when I'm doing like monotonous stuff. I could just play it in the background. So I maybe listen to it like 40 minutes a day. So it took about a week. Yeah. 7 days. And then the book that changed everything. The book that absolutely captured my mind was Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. So I'm normally not like a Rogan head, like I don't, at least at this point. I feel like everyone in podcasting everyone that likes podcasts had a portion of Joe Rogan in their life, and for me it was like, I'm trying to think, like 2015. Damn, that's like 5 years ago. But you just grow out of it. It's just like everything. He's just a large presence. Not everyone watches Oprah, or at least when she was on air. But yeah, I finally gave in. I wanted to read some kind of motivational book. I felt like I was lost at a point when I kind of just stopped doing this podcast. It was at early August. It was just like, I need some kind of drive, I need some kind of, let's just kick this whole thing back up, this horse. I feel like quarantine is hard for everybody because you were probably used to some sort of routine before this, and now you're just kind of, there's a lot more time in the day. Like, I can imagine for people that are usually very busy, this is not a fun time. And it was probably fun initially, a month in, and it wasn't even then because we're all scared of dying. But I feel like just with more time to think, I think it's just it's creating a negative aspect and a negative routine, at least for me personally. I can imagine some people feel the same. We're all kind of the same, right? But yeah, I feel like I got sloppy. I guess that's a good word. Just constant procrastination. I do deal with anxiety, but that's just a whole different thing. But like I just felt the procrastination. I felt the laziness. It's way easier to, well, I guess this was where the anxiety comes in. I hate grocery shopping now because of the whole face mask thing. I don't like the constant exposure, and it's easier to just go to Mickey D's instead of the grocery store. So I guess some people could relate to that aspect, but I just what was I saying? I'm going crazy today in this heat. But I just needed some like motivation. So I was like, okay, I'll just give this book a try. And it's if you are unaware of David Goggins, he is a crazy man. I guess he put it in a positive light. For some might see him as something different. I understand that. But he was a former Navy SEAL, if I'm correct, and now an ultramarathon runner. But he just talks about, the book is called Can't Hurt Me, and I listen to his audiobook, which also has like a podcast kind of thing into it. So it was a cool little hybrid media thing.
Oh yeah, dude, I can definitely be a Navy SEAL. I can most definitely do that. I'm gonna get up right now. I'm gonna go to a recruiter. I'm gonna sign up and be a Navy SEAL.
But like all impulsive dreams, that came to die very quickly once I read the rest of the book. And I realized that you are not supposed to become a Navy SEAL after reading Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. You were supposed to take the principles of discipline that he learned from the military and apply them to your life in whatever you do. And I'm only saying this for the other guy who's going to probably read this book, or lady, or they, whoever's going to read the book by my recommendation. First of all, you're crazy for listening to me. Second of all, don't become a Navy SEAL. It's not, I doubt it's cool at all. I don't think it doesn't live up to the hype unless you're into that stuff. And you definitely know the guy who's into that stuff because he tells you in high school every day. But it was a good book. I definitely related to it in some aspects of, when he talks about being a former fat person or just formerly overweight, and he just talks about his youth and how his youth was developed through insecurity and issues with parents and his father especially. And it was just a very relatable book in the sense of definitely not as harsh as him, but I definitely felt the same type of resentment in my youth up until I'd say 2 years ago about my upbringing as he did. And it was cool to see somebody take an approach against his own victimization of himself. And instead of feeling sorry for himself, he developed, and this doesn't work for everybody. I'm going to say that right now. That's the big disclaimer, right? It definitely doesn't work for everybody. But this guy is insane in the sense of he just basically shut down his brain. He really decided that he wanted to change who he is as a person. And I feel so late to the game for this book, but it was just, it was cool. And then I definitely did the challenges because I'm lame like that. It's just a learning process. I think my big issue is what he kind of talks about in the book is I only do stuff for pleasure. That's my big issue. I don't like doing boring stuff. Anything that displeases me, I don't like to do. And I need to learn how to make that my foundation. I need to make that the first thing I do in the day so I can have fun. I guess that's the whole point of the goddamn book. But I feel like, part of me feels sad that I'm 25 years old and I just learned that I need to discipline myself. But the other half is thankful I did, because I could also be 35. I mean, we could add 10 years to that. I mean, there's probably, I guarantee there's one guy out there who's like 50 years old and he's like, I don't need discipline. I'm a monster. It's probably in the mafia, if I'm assuming anybody. Actually, things are going well for him. He doesn't have to change. But, I mean, it's a good book. It's been inspiring me. It's got me on my high horse. I started school this week, so it is also helping with that. So I am possibly going to work another job too. So that means I'm going to be working 2 jobs. I'm going to be going to school, and I'm going to be doing a podcast, which I kind of like. In the moment, it sucks, but at the same time, I mean, you're so busy, you really don't even care. Like, you just have so many priorities. Like, the stuff just kind of flies out, Like, I know for the next 8 weeks at least, I'm taking a very short course, like an 8-week course. And I know very quickly, like, you just kind of start losing friends. Not in a bad way, but you just kind of forget to hang out with people. Just because, like, or you have priorities. Like, for me, I usually will. A good thing I learned going back to school is to do my fucking schoolwork. Oh, I cussed again. Next episode will be clean. We'll etch a sketch this one. We'll pretend this didn't happen. And I want to make a clean podcast. Or just like, not even for values. I just think it sounds nicer. You don't have to be harsh all the time. But it's been good. I feel like I needed this drive to get back into the school season. Going to school during a pandemic, which is also interesting. And we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so my 2 books. I didn't even give them a score. Let's put some music up. Let's give these guys a score. So I will say Memoirs and Misinformation, I will give that a 7 out of 10. That was it was just a good whatever book. Can't hurt me, 10 out of 10. It's just a good motivational book. It'll be around for a long time. And but I mean, that's what I've been doing. I've just been listening to audibles and I didn't even bring up a Pop Smoke. I said it like an old man. Pop Smoke. Are you boys out there listening to Pop Smoke? Pop Smoke. Said his name 8 times already. He is a rapper I was unaware of up until his demise, which is very unfortunate, very horrific way to go. And I mean, he's like 20 years old. It's insane. But I had like a really weird day where I've almost, you just heard about his music. You heard about like, this is pop culture news, by the way. I don't know why I'm talking about it, but might as well. But I didn't hear about him until just whatever happened in Beverly Hills when he was assassinated. Jesus Christ, by the way, when that happened. But I had this weird day where my brother and my friend, without even talking to each other, both recommended Pop Smoke. And it was one of those moments when you first hear someone tell you a music recommendation, you're like, oh, okay, I'll definitely listen to that. Yeah, for sure. But then once you get the second recommendation, you're like, oh, this is fine wine. I better check this out. Better get a little taste of it to see what's up. And he's really good. And I can only assume based on the hype of his. I mean, nobody wants hype on their death. That kind of sucks. But you kind of want to be remembered. I mean, that's kind of like a Schrodinger's cat, if you wanted to call it that, right? You kind of want it, but you kind of don't. I don't think that's the right word. But there's so much hype around him. I just didn't do any research or anything like that. It's not that I'm not heavy into rap. It's just I definitely have a mood. I definitely seasonally listen to rap, if that makes sense. I listen to mostly everything genre-wise. Right now I'm absolutely obsessed with that Noah Cyrus song. What is it? On Mine? by what is it? Diplo produced a country album. If I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong on that, but it's like the first single to come off of it. I forgot the name of that album, but On Mine with Noah Cyrus is insane. It took me a couple of listens to listen to it or to like it, but it's like so goddamn catchy in the sense of once you listen to it more than once, you start catching yourself in your head. It gets whatever that was. It gets implanted in your head. Just the part, and if you listen to it, if you go after this or just pause the podcast and listen to the song, she's like, oh mine, oh mine, oh mine, oh mine, oh mine, oh mine. I probably did no justice to that song, but that's exactly how it goes, and that's how I sing it on my way to work. Man, you know what? This podcast is really teaching me a lot. And the first thing is discipline, for one. Because no matter what, I've quit before. I've quit a podcast before. This has nothing to do with the music. We've already moved on if you haven't figured that out yet. But this podcast is teaching me so much in the sense of I really need, like with the plan today, it kind of worked out better. It was just, I had a lot of stuff to talk about. I still have a lot of stuff to talk about. It's on my notebook. But, you know what, man? Like, I just want to take... So, I've been doing, like, meditation. And some people I could see, because I've had this perspective at one point, is some people are like, why would you do that? I mean... And I'm speaking as another person. This is a devil's advocate for you as you're commuting to work or something. I assume everyone that listens to this is commuting to work. But someone who has a negative experience or negative connotation about meditation is probably just like, let's see, what did I used to think? I used to always push it off just because I thought it was like bullshit. In the sense of like I don't know. I just thought, because people talked about meditation, and then it just sounded like this magical aura around it. And anything that kind of has like a magical kind of like, it works, man. It really works. And, like, just when you hear stuff like that, you're like, okay, I'm sure it does, dude. You could probably imagine what my face looks like, super squinted. I'm sure it does, dude. Yeah. Uh-huh. I love when you say it. It's like my favorite thing is when someone says, yeah. Because it just means, like, stop the conversation. I understood to my capacity, and I leave. Yeah, dude, I got it. It's kind of a attitude, a little condescending. But, yeah, I've always had this negative just approach to meditation. And then I downloaded an app. I don't know if I talked about this in the last podcast. I don't even know what the fuck I talk about on this. And I cussed again. I'm sorry. But I don't even want to look back, because each week is like, I feel like I'm just on a different wave every week. So everyone's going to be like, why is this guy, everything changes, but that's just me. I mean, I'm just trying to, right now, in this moment, I will say the most recent episode, I am working on just getting a routine down, because I'm going to be going to school. I'm not going to be really doing much externally, as I shouldn't be, because we're in a pandemic. But I wanted to, with the meditation, I actually decided, I got an app. I got a Insight Timer. That's the one I got because it's free, and it has really high reviews compared to like Calm. Calm, you have to pay. That's ridiculous. You gotta pay for music. You're paying for ambient music. Just get Insight Timer. Just get the free one. If you're paying for Calm, that's crazy, dude. Insight Timer. Or just go on YouTube. I mean, you could just Google the one you want. You definitely find it. You don't have to pay for Calm. I don't support that business. I hope they make me do an ad read in like 10 years and I forget about this. But so the first week I did it, it wasn't spectacular. So it was just me and my thoughts were racing constantly. I did like I just did a 5-minute, just a little meditative experience. So what I did was I have a yoga mat. So I've been doing yoga too. I'll talk about that. But I put the yoga mat down, and then just instead of crisscross applesauce, I guess that's how you call it, the politically correct term for that, because it was definitely referred to as something else in my kindergarten years. Sitting crisscross instead of sitting like that, I sit with my legs wide open, sit with my back straight, and then just my neck just nice and calm, my shoulders calm, because that's where I get most of my tension. So I get a lot of tension around my left shoulder, and that's where my stress originates. I'm scared of any heart-related problems in the future, to be honest. But when I'm really stressed out, it gets achy, and I just can't turn my head. So I just relax the shoulders, and then I just sat down. I've been reading this David Goggins book. He's like, you just got to force it. Stuff you don't like. That's the best part about the book. He says stuff you don't like, you have to do to make yourself comfortable with it. And I'm like, it's such a simple thing to say, but I needed a Navy SEAL to tell me because I have an ego. This is something my mother and my brother have probably told me maybe the last 10 years. I don't listen. I need David Goggins. That guy lived in Coronado. That's where I live. But yeah, so that's his biggest principle. So I forced myself. I just like trying everything. I want to keep an open mind. So despite having that negative connotation about meditation, I forced myself, regardless of what I thought, to do it for 1 week. And I was like, no matter what, we can reevaluate. I start Sunday. We'll reevaluate next Sunday, and we'll see what was the thought process. How do we feel so far? Because I know with everything, like getting in shape, the first week is the worst when you're trying something new, because you feel no results. And what I've already learned doing stuff like that, constantly getting in and out of shape, my biggest challenge is consistency. So I can always beat that first part. I know some people have challenges with that first part, which is just the initial consistency. But for me, it's the long run. It's once you plateau, once you your drive becomes questionable, that's when I start losing things. And I could trace that to this podcast. I almost lost it, but then I realized that people, it's not so much for people, it's more for me. I feel like I needed to stop caring what people think. I feel like that's the biggest issue for me is with anything creative. I've been creative most of my life, but up until I was 18, I kind of doused a little bit of creativity into my life. But to say I was actually doing creative ventures, I'd say within the last 2 years I've done them. So it's fairly new, I always have to remind myself that I'm barely getting into this. Like with podcasting, this is like the 13th episode. You have to remind yourself, or just for me, I'm like, hey, dude, you're still doing it. Remember when you made I made a podcast 4 years ago, and I only made 6 episodes. And I thought that was the hardest thing in my life. And now to double that, I just, you reach a plateau of just a drive. You're like, why are you doing this? And I thought that to myself this week. I'm like, why am I doing this? Because people were asking me, just because I changed the name, they're like, yo, dude, did you take the podcast off? I'm like, low-key, yeah. You should know the new one. I didn't tell anybody, but you should know. Here it is. But I'm owning up to my shit, man. I'm tired of this. I don't want to sulk around anymore. I want to get this podcast done. I want a product for people to like. And I like the fact that it is a podcast because you guys can just see the journey that I'm going through, which is just very self-reflective, very introspective. And the meditation fits into this because the first week I didn't feel anything. The second week was when I felt something. And it's not the magic. I feel like people have been selling meditation wrong. I feel like they're selling it as this magic cure-all, be-all. And let me tell you what I think it is. This is from my own perspective. Meditation is great because it slows your thought process down enough to compensate and process information. And what I mean by that is, for me, I have such a fast-running mind because I'm doing so much. I get stressed out very easily. So meditation fits in for me personally because it slows me down. It makes me think of my breath. You know, I said that weird. Breath. My mic is really punchy this week. I'm sorry. And I got the fan on in the back. I don't care this week. It's 120 degrees, you know? I'm sorry. You're going to have to deal with a little white noise in the background this week. But but the meditation fits in perfectly in the sense of, like, for me, I needed to learn how to think about something else other than myself. And not in the narcissistic way that you usually think with Terrance. I mean, it's more of a I need to stop thinking of anything and just think of my breath, you know, in and out, in and out. You know what? I'm going to get up. That was a struggle. We're going to get up. If you can still hear me. You know what? I'm going to come back. I'm coming back. All right. Take a pause, whatever you're doing. Stop your car in the middle of the road. Let's do it. Let's do meditation together. We're going to do one, you know? We'll just do a nice, simple ride. I'm going to play some music right now, and let's get into it. It's just going to be about like 4 minutes, so take your time up. I feel like I want to motivate somebody. If you've never meditated before, here's your chance to try it. You don't have to do it again, but just, everything's a mess right now. I mean, our president is taking away the post office. I don't know what he's going to do with it. Probably burn it. The elections are coming up. That's not going to be fun. You know, there's a bunch of stressful stuff. We're still in a pandemic. I'm fat. You know? I gained like 30 pounds. You know what? Let's just take a moment. So if you've never done meditation, if you've done it before, I highly advise you to just stop right now. And I'm going to play some music. And I will be your guide for about 4 minutes. Okay? All right, let's do it. This is Terrance. That sounds gross. Sounds like I'm trademarking meditation. Let's just take a moment for ourselves. Let's do it. Relax. Make sure everything is all there. Feel your toes, feel your fingers. And then close your eyes. Instead of thinking, just focus on your breath. The ins and outs. Imagine your day ahead. Just breathe. Now open your eyes. That's what I'm talking about. What's funny is I just meditated right now, and I made $1 million. I don't know what I'm saying, but I just wanted to put a little moment of self-reflection for the people that listen to this. I'm not saying you're going through anything, but don't you just want to take a moment for yourself? You're probably working. You're probably not working right now. And It's just really good. Meditation, for me personally, is a really good way to just evaluate everything before the day starts. I do it early, or I try to. I'm going to say try to. I'm not being honest when I say I do it early. Like I said, my issue is routine. It's not too much. It's not so much actually doing stuff. It's just doing it over and over again, you know? But it's just nice in the morning because you can just see the day ahead. And when you see your day ahead, I feel like it goes better because you already assume how it's going to kind of go. So you're ready for any fluctuations, anything that goes wrong. And you can kind of curb your emotions to that, you know? Because I'm trying to get out of... what I've been noticing with this quarantine is I'm falling back into the pity party, you know? That's what I like to call it. But it's basically the woe is me. Why is the world so cold? You know? Everyone goes through it. Everyone has that emotion. Like, why me? But you don't want to think like that. That's so toxic. That's why I'm trying to own up to everything. I took a moment. I just did the meditation with you guys. And I'm just trying to own up to everything. I'm trying to make this a better podcast. I'm trying to put my passion to it. I like doing this. But when it's half-assed, it doesn't come out like I like it. It seems like I'm just doing it on a whim. I really like doing this. I really like talking on a microphone. Just that in itself is pretty cool. I don't think I could do... I wanted to do comedy, but I think podcasting is the perfect medium for me. I don't like people in real life. Not I can still talk and operate, but my preference is talking on a microphone at my house, if that makes sense. And now it is seeming to be the way to go. I was just thinking about that last night. I finally drew. You know what? I haven't even talked about this on the podcast. I have not drawn in like 2 months. There's just nothing to draw. But not that there's nothing to draw. I just didn't know what to... There's no experience coming... Being in your house all day, there's no experience. And I feel like art is a reflection of your experiences. That's why I loved taking a drawing class. Because it's not so much the focus on your art. It's more so... I mean, yeah, you learn fundamentals. You learn how to draw. But I loved seeing other people's art. Because I feel like art is a map of someone's thinking process. You can really see how they... Just by their strokes, by their frame, I mean, by the whole theme of the thing, I mean, what they're making. It was just so cool to see just how people thought, what they thought was interesting, and to compare and contrast, and you kind of just, you made a camaraderie based on artists like that, which was cool. And I kind of want to do the same for podcasting. I mean, I really want to get into this. I think the whole point of this show is to be... If I wanted to put it down on a piece of paper, this whole show is basically just me trying to figure out how to live life. And every now and then I'll throw in some additional advice. I don't want to give advice. You know, I just want to show anyone who's listening my story. I want to interview creative people again, which I am. Didn't even bring that up. I'm no longer going to talk about, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get this guest. We'll get guests. I'm not going to talk like that anymore. We will have guests on the show because it's really cool to hear other people's perspectives as well. Minus my little fuck up from episode... It was supposed to be this episode. I was supposed to have 2 guests already. But minus that, we'll just get back into it. And this podcast is cool. I mean, it's called I Want to Feel Better. And I think everybody wants to feel better, right? And it's been an evolution of 2 months. No, we started this in like March. Jesus Christ, it's already been 5 months. But the years will go by. I think I'll get a hang of this. I love it. I love now knowing that I know how to plan a podcast episode. There's going to be significant. I finally tried out this way of planning the podcast out, which is just basically like I said, like earlier, skeleton script. And I like it. It was very productive and very smooth. I kind of got this done very quickly. Before, it was like a 4-hour frenzy of just like putting clips together and stuff. I'm like, what do I do? But now I'm just kind of splotching notes of stuff I want to talk about throughout the week, and then I'll just look at the page while I'm recording, so I can just kind of do stuff on the fly while also maintaining some form of organization. I was going to talk about Dan Bilzerian, but the guy, apparently he came out as a fraud. He doesn't have all the chicks and all the guns like he said he did. Me, a 12-year-old boy, is very disappointed and heartstruck. Because even though he lived in a giant hotel in the LA Hills, his reality he was sharing with us wasn't his reality. And you know what? I'm not going to talk about it. Because I don't want to make fun of people. It's like one of those things. If anyone that, like, my issue is I laugh at people based on insecurity. And I think isn't that what comedy is? It's just insecurities being ousted. And I just don't want a negative approach to everything anymore. I feel like just everything I did was negative. Even a year ago. I feel like this is a journey that I'm starting now, you know? I want to change my whole mindset. I want to go outside, honestly. Just once, you know? I used to go to Ocean Beach. I just want to go to Ocean Beach once. Just go sit on a rooftop. Pretend I live that life. Pretend I have money, you know. Wear a tank top. Which I definitely won't do right now because I gained 1 million pounds. Not 1 million. I just have a giant pizza gut that I developed very quickly. It came so quick. But you can kind of insinuate that this is nearing the end of this podcast. I'm glad you listened, I should say. I'm glad you listened. Oh my God, I didn't even bring up Terrance. Terrance. This is my new form of idea. So if you guys didn't know, I'm a seasoned inventor. I've created things. I created the internet in 1998. I mean, this is just it's a little known fact about me, which is kind of funny. You know, I invented the internet. That's me, Terrance Greer, invented the internet, and I've created my new invention, which is Terrance. And Terrance is my new assistant. So, like Siri, like Alexa, Terrance will come and assist to take over and talk about hard parts of my life I don't want to talk about. He is 7'8". That's my height, you know. The guy who created the internet, 7'8". I did play basketball too. I had a brief stint with the '96 Bulls. Terrance is essentially me, but he's way more ripped than I am. I'm already very ripped, but he's just way more jacked. He spends a lot more time on it. And I just wanted to give you guys a brief little stint. I just wanted to introduce you to Terrance. So I'm going to power him up right now. Let's give this a try. Terrance on.
Terrance, version 1. Hello, Terrance.
Hello, Terrance. I wanted to ask you a big question today. Tell me, Terrance, why am I inconsistent with this podcast?
Because one mistake has made you lose motivation. A constant journey for perfection is simply unachievable, Mr. Terrance.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Terrance. Now, I have another question I wanted to ask. Terrance, why can't I find love?
You cannot find love because you are Terrance. You are you.
Now, final question, Mr. Terrance. Will this podcast succeed? Will I succeed?
Success is only a note that you play. The key to your success is in your mind. Only you choose if you want it.
Well, that was rather bleak, if I would say so myself. That was Terrance. I love him. He's going to be here way more often in my millionaire mansion that I keep, and he just basically sits behind me and just answers all my questions that I don't want to answer. So there we go. We put that out there. This seems like a good time to end the podcast. I mean, I will say Terrance is a direct inspiration from Is it Dave from 2001: A Space Odyssey? Or Hal? One of them. I forgot the name. I'm yawning. I haven't watched that movie in a year, probably. It was one of those movies. I had a DVD, and my parents. There's 2 movies I cannot watch at my home because I've watched so much that my family just disavows it. One of them is Top Gun. I love Top Gun. One of my favorite movies. I can watch it anytime. I know the whole movie. I'm not even kidding. And then the second one is 2001: A Space Odyssey. Those are 2 movies I've watched since my youth that I am not allowed to watch at my house if I visit. But I love them. I can watch them all the time. But thank you for listening. I mean, we'll wrap it up. This is episode 13. I do want to say, if you go to my website, this is a new feature to keep updated. I'm going to be starting, I think, this week or next week. I'll give the official key for a mailing list on my website. I have a website, terrancegreer.net. That is literally my name, .net. And just click the podcast link once you get on the page. You don't have to look at my art. And then there will be a button for a mailing list. So I will literally email you the podcast every Tuesday. Any new or other significant news I will send to you. And then also the last thing I want to say, if you want to be on this podcast, if you want me to talk about something specifically, if you have a question, if you want shitty advice, feel free to email me at IWTFB podcast. That is the podcast. I changed the name to it. I like it. So IWTFB podcast at gmail.com. And then just please put a subject, dude. Jesus. These animals out here not putting subjects. I don't even know. But yeah, so I'll say it again. IWTFB podcast at gmail.com. So thank you for listening. I will be back next Tuesday. We moved it to Tuesdays. It used to be Thursdays, but I like it in the beginning of the week. There's no podcasts on Tuesdays. You know, you kind of want like an early podcast. So this is the answer to that. I hope you have a great week. I hope nothing horrific happens this week. Jesus, man. Anything else I need to say? I think that's it. All right. I'm going to play some music. I'm not going to play it. I'm just going to play some send-off music and get out of here. You guys have a good one.